Good morning, everyone. So you've participated in Project Dress a Girl. Yay! Thank you so much for participating in Project Dress a Girl. I'm just coming on to give you just a couple ways to use some of your scraps up. You know, all those leftover bits. Let me grab a handful. I've got this huge bag with scraps in it. I'll just grab one fabric out. Let's grab the zebra fabric. All right, I'm going to fold this. I should probably iron this, but I'm going with it just as it is. And I'm folding it so it's pretty straight on grain. Good morning, Leah. Sorry, my internet is going in and out. We had a horrible storm move through last night. And for some reason, even though I'm not on, I'm on AT&T wireless, and I don't know what's going on. Anyway, the first thing I would suggest doing is create some quilt squares. Anybody can use quilt squares. I'm currently cutting 3x3 squares, and I've got a box for the warm colors, and I have a box for cool colors. And I just got these square bins at Dollar Tree, and these will be the perfect size for small projects. You'll sew them together, and then you can use them to make bags or anything you want. Depending on how many of these squares you hook together, you'll end up with something very scrappy. And the digging you're hearing is Howard is digging on the front door because the neighbor cats are looking in. No, come on, Howard, come on. Come on, move. So what I do is I take my scraps and I'm going to cut my 3-inch squares. Never go backwards with a rotary cutter. Always just one way. And because I've got so many layers, I went quite a few times. Good morning, Kathy D. and Leah and Cheryl and Eternity. And I hope everybody's having a good morning. And I saw your message on Facebook, Eternity, and you take the time you need. I know what you're going. Our very first. I'm not saying you're ready for that. Take all the time in the world you need. One will show up knowing you need them. That's what I have started. When you try to replace a pet that you've lost, if you try to replace them too soon, it hurts. If you wait and wait and wait, one will show up. The perfect one will show up. So, because if you try to force it and go get one, you won't have the same connection as if you waited. What I'm doing is I'm trimming my excess away, and all of this excess will go in a different bag for scrappy slow stitching. So I have a bunch of this. And if you pay the postage, I'll send you some. Because I have a lot of it. All right, I'm going to turn it one more time. And I don't use the squares on my mat because my mat is so old. I use the squares on my ruler. And now I'm just going to cut those 3-inch squares until I can't cut anymore. So this is one way to use those Project Dress a Girl scraps. It's moving a little bit. There we go. So there's some pink ones. So this is one way to use all your scraps. And this is kind of what I'm going to do today, is cut my squares and build my small scrap pile so it's even deeper. Looks like I can get one more. Really about 4 layers is the most you should try to cut. And I could get more out of that, but they wouldn't be square because that was on a fold. So now I've got all these little pink zebra squares, so they'll go in my red box here. And this pile will go in my other bin. But now I have these that are probably a little wonky or whatever. So something else you can do is, I saw this on Pinterest and I decided to make one myself. It's just a little heart garland. And this is all fabrics from Project Dress-A-Girl from this year. So what I've got is, earlier in the year, I did a Mother's Day baskets for the 2 mothers, and it had a heart you put it on the front, and so I just used that same heart pattern. I could take these that I had left from cutting my squares out. I could just line this up, maybe put it so there's a zebra head on it, and just pin it on there and cut them out, and then take some scrap of muslin, which I have here, and make it for the back. So you have your Dress-A-Girl fabric, then you have a heart that's cut from muslin, which I always have a bunch of muslin because I buy it for different projects, and then scrap batting. So you can cut, this is offcuts from previous quilting projects. I hold on to it for projects like this. And I noticed Janet Baum was having trouble trying to make one of these because her floss was twisting. And my only suggestion would be, I used 3 strands, so I divided it, and you can run it through some wax, or thread conditioner would probably be better so that you don't get the twisting. And then I just used the variety packs like you can get at Walmart or Joann's or whatever, the ones that are less expensive than DMC. For something like this, you don't need to spend a lot of money. And I kind of use the ones that are rainbow colored because I thought it looked pretty. So that's another way to use your scraps. If your scraps are much bigger than that, you could save them for next year and use them for yokes for dresses. I'm going to evaluate all of my scraps today. As I said, I have a huge pile of scraps, and I want to get them down to slow stitching fodder, basically. So that is my two of many ways that I can think to use my scraps. You can cut the squares larger for tote bags and things like that. And if you search on the different fabric companies, like if you go to Robert Kaufman Fabrics, they have free patterns on there for smaller projects, tote bags, pillows, that kind of thing. And with Christmas coming up, all of these scraps could be turned into wonderful gifts for people. Cheryl won a small banner from me because she guessed about how many yards that I have used for Project Dress-A-Girl this year. All right. Let me look. Oh dear. I hope you can find it. Moving is rough because everything gets misplaced. Okay. Any other questions? Last year, I don't have it available. Actually, it was for the first year, the very first year. So 2 years ago, I have made a quilt top, and all I've got left to do is I want to applique some hearts on it to represent the pockets, and then I need to put it together. And I'm thinking that will be a winter project for me, is to work on my quilt tops. because Scott and I found those 2 floor standing quilt frames. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to use them and work on some of the quilt tops I have made up already. I would really like to do them hand quilting instead of on the machine. The machine wears me out because I don't have a long arm quilt machine. I do it on my regular sewing machine, and maneuvering a big quilt on a home sewing machine, it's very tiring. So anyway. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. And I hope that this gives you some ideas on how to use fabrics after you have participated in a charity event. And I will talk to you later. Have a great day, everybody.